Hey everybody, this is So Many Sequels. I'm Josh.
Garrett.
Uh,
And and I'm David.
uh, uh,
Uh,
Today
uh,
we're gonna
uh,
talk about a very exciting
uh,
movie to me. I think we're gonna
oh
talk about
boy.
Bob's Burgers movie.
That's
Uh,
right, guys. Oh boy, exactly.
We're very excited.
I had guys. I did the research. I pulled up the episode last night. It is officially over. The final 2020 movie has been released.
Wow. That we
Here,
talked
Isn't
about.
it?
I listened to our most anticipated of 2020 last night.
Mhm.
All of our films have been released, and not just those. At the end, you may or may not remember that episode. I also went over some of Letterboxd's most anticipated,
Uh-huh.
as well as every sequel that was supposed to come out in 2020. As of Bob's Burgers, they are all out.
Tom's
Wow.
Burgers' claim to fame is that it was the last delayed movie of 2020 to be released.
Basically, and I,
Wow.
I did some extra research to find out, and it sure enough is the case. This is the final 2020 movie that was scheduled for release in 2020 to be released.
Was
That's cool.
was the Bob's Burgers movie on any of our personal lists?
It was on mine, and we
Okay.
talked about it a little bit about,
Yeah.
we were like, we don't really know what it's gonna be because back then we didn't even have a trailer yet. It was just planned
Right.
for like a November or August release date back then.
Cool.
Well, I think if I remember right, and you listened to it, did I even know that was a movie until that episode? I feel like that was.
I think I introduced it there. I think Josh said, "Yes, I've heard of this," and you were like, "I haven't heard of this. I love this show," and so I'm looking forward to what it's gonna be about. We all agreed that we
Make
all
sure.
my favorite character. We'll get into the show now. Let's just get into it now.
Yeah, sure. David, it was on your list, so you should do the honors of kicking us off with did the Bob's Burgers movie live up to your anticipation after a 2-year delay?
It did in a lot of ways, and also it's in some ways it couldn't, but
Oh,
it
yeah.
really did. Um, because this is gonna make it sound bad. I fall asleep to Bob's Burgers every night. That's not to say
No, that's a
that it puts
comfort
me to
thing.
sleep.
It's a comfort tune.
Although I had so my wife, Nikki,
Mhm.
she likes to put on Bob's Burger to go to sleep, but I had to tell her, babe, you have to turn it down a little bit because the thing about Bob's Burgers is the main form of communication in that show is shouting. Everybody is shouting except for Tina. You have Louise just being like, "Da, da, da." Then you have Gene being, and then it's of course you have Linda and Teddy, right? The most calm person is Bob just going, uh, see, when you can't do that. Things like that. And but I have probably fallen asleep to every episode. I don't really the funny thing is if you asked me, David, why do you like Bob's Burgers? I don't know. I don't know. I fell in love with the show when there was an episode where Bob took Tina to a parking lot to learn to drive. And she drove 2 miles an hour and hit the only parked car in the parking lot at 2 miles an hour. And the whole time Bob's going, Tina, brake, brake.
I can't.
Going, the whole time. And I don't know why, but it just made me laugh and I loved it. And here we are, a movie. And the fear with TV shows, adaptations in a film is that they either feel like 3 or 4 episodes stitched together or they feel like one really long episode. And I feel like this is more of the latter, but in a good way. It felt like a longer episode. Everything about it felt so quintessentially Bob's Burgers that I hope people who aren't fans of the show would like it too. I love that it's small scale. They don't really go past their own street corner. And I think the allure for a lot of these types of shows is like, okay, it's Bob's Burgers. Now they have to go out into the world. They're going to go on a plane. They're going to go Hawaii. They're going to go to Europe or something like that. They do that a lot of these kind of animation shows to film. But I loved it, and I thought it was really good. I struggled to think of things to say though, because it was just so the show that I feel like any compliment I would give it is just a compliment I would give the show anyway.
Yeah, it definitely felt like a 90-minute or however long it was episode of Bob's Burgers, which was totally fine. And that's what honestly, I think that's what it should be. Because if you take the element out of Bob's Burgers, then you mentioned why you like this cartoon and this animation. It, for me anyway, is because it is a wholesome version of the family cartoon dynamic that we don't have. You have this dysfunctional family in The Simpsons, and they're always into chaos and havoc and wild shenanigans. And then you have the chaos that is Family Guy and the chaos that is American Dad and all of those very dysfunctional kind of families. And at its core, the Belchers are not a dysfunctional family. They are just weird. Everybody's just got their own little quirk, but as a family, they are incredibly high functioning, very supportive, very like one of the most tight knit family functioning that I've seen in television. Like they're just genuinely a wholesome group of people who have silly quirks and get into like small scale shenanigans. They usually have to do with some kind of real life scenario revolving around the restaurant, just in a way. And that's what this was. It's just I enjoy the show a lot, but I don't keep up with it on a regular basis. It's one that I watch and I catch it when I can, and I enjoy it every minute of it. But I had heard that they had been building to the movie throughout the whole thing. The movie has a sinkhole in it, and they have to figure out how to get customers and save their business. And it starts off with, I think Teddy coming in and tripping over some sidewalk, and your sidewalk's getting worse. And that was a build that they had done as people were continually tripping throughout this current season, building up. So it really did just feel like for somebody who hasn't seen the season or really keep up with it. I don't think you need to be a fan of it. I think it helps a lot because you get those little jokes. But I also think that you can watch it and then be like, oh, I like this, and then go back and learn just.
What I love about Bob's Burgers, as an entity, I think, is how it always feel personal to you as a viewer. It feels almost like it's underrated, but it is not. Bob's Burgers is in it's going into its 13th season, which is a quite a long run, especially for a Fox show. It has been nominated for Outstanding Animated Program at the Emmys 7 consecutive times, won twice. And in 2013, TV Guide named it one of the 60 greatest cartoon shows of all time. So lots of respect for Bob's Burgers, but it feels underrated. It feels like one of those shows that no one's watching or talking about, but it's like we
It's
all,
because it doesn't have
and it's weird.
it. Yeah, it doesn't have that virality that the
Not
other ones
quite.
have, and it's not political like The Simpsons used to be and started.
You know,
The Simpsons have dwindled as far as like shaking things up, but that's what they were really known for. And then Family Guy came in and just blew that up to
can I, can I
an enormous level. And Bob's is just very consistent.
can I make an observation too?
Yeah.
It's not mean spirited, Bob's Burgers.
It's not.
There's
No,
no
it is
sense
really-
of there's no sense. Now there are characters who are antagonistic towards Bob and members of his family, sure, but
You have to have
the
that.
show's never about getting somebody, or it's not like about Louise trying to somehow ruin her sister's life, or Bob and Linda having some animosity with each other, anything like that. It's very, like you said, Garrett, wholesome. I feel like now, even though there was some mean spirited elements to what I'm about to say, I think a lot of people have called Bob's Burgers the spiritual successor to King of the Hill, being that it's not of the Groening and the McFarlane families. It is its own thing, its own style. And at the same time, though, it is the anti King of the Hill because whereas Hank was a very like repressed parent who didn't accept a lot of his son's choices, Bob is like the most accepting dad anybody could have. He's do whatever you want to do, but please serve burgers.
Yeah.
Please get these burgers. Like he doesn't care that his son and daughter and other daughter are like oddballs. He's just we have to make this restaurant work, and it's charming. And for whatever reason, it works.
That's a good observation. There is a thin layer of cynicism in King of the Hill, I think, that is not present in Bob's Burgers. But it does stand to reason why you would compare them because they are similar in a lot of ways in this whole idea of it being a pretty static family that doesn't really change over the course of a decade, but we just get a glimpse into their shenanigans every week. So with the movie, David, you already said that it is essentially a 90-minute episode. And it is. The stakes aren't that high. They're slightly higher than a show or an episode of the show. But at the end of the day, you can pick any you could throw a dart at a wall of Bob's Burgers episodes and find one about Bob and Linda trying to come up with money to give to the bank so they don't lose their loan. Like it's not even an uncommon plot line in that show, but the way they handle it works because it's not about it's more about the family than the plot is what I'm trying to say. There's a murder in this one. That's a little higher stakes than normal. But at the end of the day, it's all about the restaurant. And I
It
love
is.
that. And I love
It
that.
is.
I don't care. Louis, so the basic gist of the movie, for anyone who hasn't seen it yet, is that a sinkhole opens in front of the restaurant. Louise, this attempt to prove she's not a baby, goes into the hole, discovers a body, and now a murder investigation is afoot. But she never wants to solve the murder for the sake of solving the murder. She wants to save the restaurant. Love that.
And she wants to prove that she's not a baby.
And prove that she's not a baby.
Having this struggle about her ears. Is she a baby still? And so there's that component pushing her, and then she overhears mom and dad talking about the restaurant's going to shut down. It feels very, I don't know. It doesn't feel like they're like jumping the shark or anything like that, or trying to do anything
No, they
weirder
don't.
than they would normally do.
No, they do what they do well. And that was the right move, I think. You didn't need to go crazy. We didn't need to send the Belchers to Paris or anything.
Yeah, no.
And I think you can compare it to the Simpsons movie in that element where you look at the Simpsons movie retroactively, and while I'm not hard hating on the Simpsons movie, but you can definitely tell a difference in that first half and in that second half of that movie, much like the current Simpsons as a show. This one was very consistent again, and if you're a fan of the show, then it is very familiar to you, and you're going to enjoy it. And if you're not a fan of the show, then you'll watch it, and that's what the show is. If you like the movie, you would like the show. If you like the show, you're going to love the movie.
Yeah, and I want to point out, and now I've seen an episode or two from this most recent season, and if you watched this most recent season of Bob's Burgers, or maybe even the last two seasons, you can see the cracks in the sidewalk, and it's starting to deform in the show, like in the build up to in the build up to the movie. So there's a little bit of they were like planting some seeds along the way for these types of things. The cast is again great. It's great on the show, but I'll tell you what. One of the things that makes me laugh the most is Kevin Kline as Mr. Fishoder. His whole bit is so like it sounds like he is. I hope he's having a blast doing it. Whenever he does stuff, oh, little person, I'm going to step away from you now. And he just like kind of over narrates himself a little bit. And he's like, we are ne'er-do-wells. It's just, and his brother Felix, I don't know. The vibe over there is a lot nicer. And he just like eases out.
That's
So funny.
too.
Gary Cole, yeah, and that's Zach Galifianakis. Gary Cole is Sergeant Botsko, very funny. I thought that the newer Fishoder Grover, I thought that was Keegan Michael Key for the whole movie, only for it to turn out to be David Wayne. But yeah, the main cast was just as good as they always are. I've always been a Tina guy. For whatever reason, Tina just speaks to me. And she makes me laugh every line she has. This movie was no different, even though it was Louise focused. It really had me the whole time.
What I really want, speaking of Tina, is I need a crossover, some kind of crossover thing that is Tina just like hanging out with May from Turning Red for a day. They're both just a couple of weird teenage girls, and I love it.
That could work.
It's amazing. There was literally an episode of Bob's Burgers on earlier where Tina, her erotic friend fiction got leaked. And it's like, that's Turning Red. Love it.
That's exactly her friend fiction. I love that term.
Yeah.
One of my favorite episodes with Tina is where it's called, I don't know the other name of the episode. It might be called Too Many Boys or something like that. And the hit boy group, what is it called? Boys for You?
Boys for Now.
Boys for Now.
Which is just...
And they are looking for a new member. And so there's all of these young, good-looking boys who sing in town, and Tina keeps bumping into them and keeps falling in love with each of them at sight. And it's just full of songs. It's one of my favorite episodes. It ends with the song, The Right Number of Boys for You is Forever. And it's great.
One of the biggest elements in Bob's Burgers is musicality, and this one had. Well, I'm gonna be real. If I'm gonna pick one thing that I have a problem with, is that I just didn't get enough songs. They had some good songs in there, but if I, as a fan of the show, knowing how much of a musical element that like is important to the show, I'm a little surprised that there was not more of that. They had a few things in there, but it was mostly just Gene being weird with his toaster and spoon. It wasn't like actual musical numbers. And if I'm just nitpicking, but like that one thing, I think I would have liked more actual songs.
I was satisfied, I think, with the amount of songs. I've been listening to Sunny Side Up Summer and Lucky Ducks on repeat for a week now. Those two songs alone have filled me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Lucky Ducks is so fun.
They're both really good.
Highly
Lucky Ducks
recommend
is
listening
fun.
to it.
Mhm.
Sunny Side Up Summer was a really fun way to open the movie.
It was a good opening. Yeah.
And now that I've brought them up in my own head, I do think that if there was one song missing, it was a Boys for Now song to get us.
That would have been
maybe
good.
something with Tina and Boys for Now. But otherwise, yeah, I think Bob's Burgers always has such fun. And the thing about the Bob's Burgers songs is that they're not like, I don't know how to explain it. They don't feel like they were written, so to speak. They feel like they're ad lib almost. And like they always have like such weird, interesting lyric choices. And sometimes it feels, if you've ever sat to yourself and tried to sing a song while you were doing something and you're making it up as you go along, they have that kind of like off kilter rhythm slightly where it's not quite right, but it works. That's why I always loved the show. And the songs here were good. I do think that we could have used one more bop towards the end. Yeah.
I also, you brought up Tina. I need to bring up Louise Louise and Jean, because for me, those two were the ones that really sold me on watching the show initially. Because those Kristen Shaw and Eugene Merman were big in Flight of the Conchords, which was a huge show that I watched when I was younger, and it's also a very strange and musical element focused show. And so seeing Gene especially be able to carry that over, because he was more involved, at least in the songs, than Kristen Shaw was in that show. And you said Tina speaks to you. Gene really speaks to me with his weirdness and non sequiturs. But those two being able to work together and really shine after having watched years of Flight of the Conchords was always just beautiful to see those two together.
Anything? Do you have anything else, Josh?
Specifically, no, I did the kind of animation tweaks that they made. That was a way to make it seem like it's more than just a TV show episode. They introduced more layers and shadowing, and that's not uncommon with cartoons that move from TV to movies. And sometimes it can be distracting. I did not think it was the case this time. So I liked that. And I thought, what was that?
I was just going to agree. It felt like the show, but with a little more depth.
Yeah, it felt like there was a little more depth to the scenery. I like that. You know what I like? And this is just a note or another observation. Since the Simpsons movie got brought up earlier. And again, this isn't a crack at them, but I appreciate that this movie didn't try to bring in a bunch of celebrity cameos. No one plays a celebrity. There's no celebrities in this. Most of the voice cast is the same cast as the show, so any celebrities that do pop up, they were already. The Simpsons movie opens with a big Green Day concert, and it's like, all right, whatever. But nothing like that in this, and I do like that.
No, you had Paul Rudd, but he's been a character in the show, and he just played that. You had Aziz Ansari, who's been a character in the show, and he was just in there real quick as a character in that. And you had very bit parts who were just playing the bit parts that they normally play, and that was just nice. Because I think, again, the people involved with the show just really seemed to...
Interestingly enough, the one voice actor who doesn't seem to have returned for the show was Bill Hader, who voices Mickey the Carney / bank robber. That was the only one where when it started, oh, that's not Bill Hader. And he's been on the show a lot. So then that was kind of surprising. Yeah, they didn't do any stunt casting. They didn't even do any like big character voiced by a comedian, which maybe or a movie star or something like that they didn't already have in the show. Which is, I think, pretty good.
I wonder.
What else I was gonna bring up.
I was gonna say, I wonder what's gonna happen with the future of Bob's Burgers, in the sense of, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Bob's Burgers is now fully owned by Disney as well, just like The Simpsons.
I believe so. I believe it was part of the Fox.
I think it's the 20th century.
20th century purchase.
I wonder if they will. One thing that Disney does with The Simpsons now is these Disney Plus shorts. Think it'd be fun if there were some Bob's Burgers shorts that pop up every now and then. Because I was trying to think, do they do another
I think
Bob's Burgers movie? I don't know. I'm not against it. But it's like, what else could they do? And it feels like there's a lot of different options they could take in addition to just keeping the regular show on and just making it pop up everywhere here and there. And I think some Disney shorts would be fun.
I like the idea of like little 5-minute musicals for them. Like lean into the musical aspect and make it like little fun songs.
If you have seen any of the new Disney Plus Simpsons shorts, they're really not that good. Which is unfortunate, but I trust the Bob's Burgers team better because the Simpsons has been burned out for a while.
They've been doing a lot of stuff for a very long time.
And they haven't
And I think
they've
that
kept the same producing team for decades.
yeah.
They need fresh.
It would be nice to, yeah. And I think outside of that, we haven't really talked about the movie itself because it really is just a characteristic of the show, in my opinion. Again, that's not enough.
Yeah,
I think
I
that
don't even know what there's to say.
no, well, look,
Just 'cause-
I'm sure David's got his box office numbers, and we'll look into that. But I don't think there's much you could have done for this movie to make it #1 in the box office, unless you're just gonna release it when nothing else is coming out. I think that this movie is a lot for fans initially, and then if anybody else comes and sees it, then that's the cherry on top. But I think that this movie will be for fans who enjoy it initially, and then word of mouth gets a few more people in the door.
Yeah, true. It's gonna mostly be, I think, the fans of the show that are gonna show up for this. So you could have promoted it a little bit more. It is nice that they did go ahead with a theatrical release. Because they probably could have, just sold it to Netflix or sold it to, if Disney Plus owns it, Disney Plus. But I'm glad they stuck with it here. It was fun.
If it does go to Disney Plus or Hulu or wherever, I think it will be very successful on whatever streaming site it goes to.
Oh yeah, I think so.
I'm only so intrigued by how this streaming stuff all works out because it's weird to me that The Simpsons is on Disney Plus, but they have Bob's Burgers on Hulu. If anything, it should be reversed. Bob's Burgers is a much more family-friendly show.
Yeah.
But they do seem to be on Hulu. So,
and maybe that's just a matter of time. Maybe that has to do with some previous deals that they had worked out. There are some, I won't go into specifics. I do know that there are some shows that are on certain streaming services just because of deals they signed years ago.
Yeah.
And so they're just stuck there. But even though maybe their owner, like their rights have moved to somebody else, like their production rights have moved somewhere else, they still have those pre-existing contracts. So maybe it's something like that, or maybe there's some other, reason that we're just not seeing. But Bob's Burgers, I think, weirdly enough, even though it's not very Disney-fied, I think it is a good fit with Disney Plus if they were to put it there.
Yeah, I think so. Well, why don't you tell us how much money this movie made in its first couple weekends?
Let's talk about it because the movie we're on weekend number 2 as of this recording. And so far, the movie has brought in its domestic run $22.2 million. Worldwide, you add another 1.7 million. I'm not really sure what the reach is for Bob's Burgers overseas. To give it a worldwide total of 23.9 million. Its first weekend, like you said, Garrett, maybe it could have had a better opening if it hadn't had to open up again. It's Top Gun Maverick.
Mm-hmm.
So technically, Bob's Burgers isn't the last movie. It's tied with Top Gun Maverick.
That's counter programming, though.
Yeah, it is, and it's something for the mom and dad with kids, or the mom with kids, or whatever, because Top Gun is mostly dads. So Top Gun Maverick opened number 1 with $126 million in its 3-day. And then you have Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness at 16 million with in its 4th week. Bob's Burgers finishes number 3 with 12.4. And then you have Downton Abbey, The New Era, and The Bad Guys rounding out the top 5. So you do have 2 animated films in there. You have some superhero fare. You got Top Gun Maverick. And then if you want to extend that to the Memorial 4-day weekend, Top Gun Maverick was still number 1 with 160 million. Little update from last week's episode. And then you have Doctor Strange number 2 again. Bob's Burgers 4-day was 14.8. So a pretty good follow-up on Monday to go along with all of its weekend stuff. And then it's the same from there. On the year, I don't know where Bob's Burgers will end up finishing. It's hard to say. I imagine this will probably only stay in theaters for about a month and a half at most. But this weekend it's projected to bring in 4.5 million, which that's fine. That's not bad. I was trying to find out where it might stack up in terms of animation, but I think it's just going to be too blunted to really of an opening to really like make a big difference. Crack the top 120 opening weekends for an animated film or anything like that. Hopefully it just does well. It does well enough for them to think, hey, this is a critical success and we really like it and we did a good job. It was never going to be $100 million movie probably on an opening weekend or anything like that. So the show will keep running and maybe another movie somewhere down the line.
I also think that's an argument I heard on another review of this show saying that this movie, while you would typically think of a cartoon as a kid-focused movie, this is probably more adults taking kids with them to see this movie because adults are probably more inclined to like this. Nothing that like the kids probably like it too, but I bet parents are the ones driving their kids to see this.
I bet there might be that. There might be a mix of both. When we compared to my Top Gun theater experience, I don't know about you guys. Top Gun was a packed audience, 3:00 on a Saturday. This was 3:00 on a Saturday, and it was an audience of 10 people. And but one of them was a family of 3. It was a mom, dad, and their maybe 13, 14-year-old daughter. She said it was weird but fun, and the dad said, "I agree." And so maybe there's some families that have grown up with Bob. You said 13 years, so there's probably some kids that have grown up with Bob's Burgers being on TV, and maybe they like it too. So I do think Bob's Burgers obviously is an adult animated show, despite the fact this is a fun thing. I remember reading this. I don't know if this is still true or not, but I was as of like season 5, Bob's Burgers had never had to bleep a word in the show. They never said anything they had to bleep, which most adult animated shows can't really claim. Anyway, man, I was trying to find out like the highest opens of the year and see maybe if Bob's Burgers 12 million was better than something else. Yeah, here we go. Bob's Burgers opening weekend was just $200,000 better than The Northman and Moonfall and Ambulance. So there's some other pandemic movies that didn't do so well. Anyway, that's it for the box office, but I think critics seem to like the Bob's Burgers movies.
All right. Let's I've got another selection of fun letterbox reviews for us to look at real quick. Again, these are some of the most popular reviews on the Letterboxd app for the Bob's Burgers movie. Go join that app if you haven't. Follow us. It's fun. The most liked review of the movie is that Bob suffers more than any other character in fiction. 4 stars. Another 4-star, Tina deserves better than Jimmy Jr.
It's
Agree.
4.5 stars, Teddy wants to be in a poly relationship with Bob and Linda so bad, and honestly, I'm rooting for it.
Oh, Teddy deserves something good.
Teddy does. He went through so much crap to build Bob that
The burger car.
best movie ever made. No one will ever top this film. This is real cinema. 5-star review. And then finally, 3.5 stars. Here's how the Bob's Burgers movie will win Best Picture. So, what are our guesses?
I'm going to guess it's sitting at like a 3.9.
Okay.
I'm not gonna be that optimistic. I'm gonna go a little lower with a 3.4.
Oh, good, because I'm going to cut that and do a 3.7. Because that is what my heart was telling me before we started this. And let's see. Well, oh my gosh. What did you say, David?
3.9.
Okay, here's the thing. You and I got a tiebreaker situation going on.
Okay.
'Cause this was a 3.8.
A
Oh.
3.8.
3.8.
So I
got you.
I prepared for this.
Oh, even better.
What's your idea? Because
I
my
was just
idea
gonna
is
go boringly check the Rotten Tomatoes score.
we can do that too. Otherwise, I have saved 2 movies that we didn't do guesses for because they were too fresh that we could try to do as
Oh,
type
I
break.
like that idea.
That is-
So we can either do Fantastic Beasts 3, or we can do Doctor Strange. Which would you rather
Okay.
do, Josh?
Fantastic
up,
Beasts is
Jeopardy,
older.
Yeah.
So it will have more review. That doesn't mean it will have more reviews, actually. But it does mean it's probably more settled.
Could be.
I think I vote for Fantastic Beasts.
Okay. All right. So let's try to guess what the score is for Fantastic Beasts. This will be our tiebreaker scenario.
Yeah, we will. Look
I have it pulled up.
You can go. I went first. I went first for Bob's Burgers. Josh, you can go first for this one.
Fantastic Beasts and the Secrets of Dumbledore. Let me see. It has 31,000 reviews.
2.2.
I'll go the opposite direction, and I will say it's sitting at a 2.9.
A 2.9 for David. That is opposite ends of the spectrum.
I think it's a
David's
4.0.
spectrum is closer. It's at a 2.8.
Yeah. Why?
That is very high.
It's
2.8. I don't know if that's very high or not.
2.5, and I regret that.
But retroactively, I wouldn't have episodes with that. So that means I win this week we'll say I win this week for Bob's Burgers as well. The Letterbox King, as you all know.
Letterbox King, newly
I
crowned.
really need to get back on their program. I had to get
Oh no!
Costing me too much money.
Wait until Black Friday. They have half off sale.
Yeah, that's a good idea. I love Letterbox though. I don't know where Bob's Burgers is going to finish on my list for the year, but I do know that I'm going to give it 4 stars.
Look, I'm not fronting anything. This movie is a 5-star movie for me.
Oh, there you go.
There's nothing wrong with it. It is a perfect Bob's Burgers movie. No complaints.
Yeah, I agree with you in sentiment, but as far as my star rating, I'm gonna go. This is a really good movie. It's 3.5 stars, and that is not enough.
Not enough. Wait, you're gonna 4 minutes left, and you're gonna pull an Andrew and praise this movie, and then lowball it.
I'm not lowballing it. I'm looking at it from a critical standpoint. I'll give it a 3.5 stars. From a fan standpoint, I agree with you. It's a 5-star movie, but like on my scale, it's 3.5.
See, and I'm going with a 4. I really enjoyed myself. I had a lot of fun. I think that it probably will be really fun in repeat viewings. But
I would agree with that. And that, I bet if I go back and watch it again, it will go up each time.
I think something really different would have needed to happen to really push it to the 5-star for me. There would have had to have been some kind of like groundbreaking change to the status quo. Maybe not groundbreaking. That's a bad term.
Is a Green Day concert?
Yeah. Or just some kind of, I don't know, some kind of big revelation. Maybe Bob's restaurant has a big successful thing and the restaurant improves or something like that.
What if they showed us Louise without the bunny ears? Would that have changed it? Because they did not show us that.
Yes, because I think that would have been really neat as like a thing that like this is just for the movie. But then the thing is, if you think about it, she's just gonna have black hair.
I know. I'm glad they didn't show hair.
There's not gonna be anything there. Like
you can't make that live up
in her head or something.
Yeah, you got for me. I think for me, what prevented it from being even a 4-star was like you got a little bit of. There was one moment where you see Bob talking about the hat and where that origin came from, and you get a little bit of emotional depth there, but you don't get a ton. You would have just given me just a smidge more of that emotional depth. It's would have been like a 4-star.
I'll tell
but
you what,
it is basic. You get a little bit more. That's the 3.5.
I'll tell you what, though, I was stressed when they were. Spoiler alert! I was stressed when they were buried alive.
Yeah,
I was starting to get claustrophobic in my seat. I was like, I would have a panic attack at this exact moment if this were me.
I know it's a cartoon, and I'm sitting there going, "How are they going to get out of this?"
Yeah, I know. I was like, "Oh no, I'm so worried." Man.
And of course, they just drive themselves out, essentially, with the water pipe. Just drive. I don't want to spoil how they get out of
the water pipe.
Anyway, yeah, that's it. That's our Bob's Burgers episode. It was mostly just a Bob's Burgers discussion overall, but that's fine. The movie is what it is, which is just an A+ episode of Bob's Burgers. So go check it out if you haven't yet. If you're a fan, you'll love it. If you've never seen it, you will also probably like it because we discussed that there's not a lot of barriers to entry. Like you'll get a hang of what's going on pretty quick. There's no like lore that you need to know. So do that. And
the only thing,
what?
The only thing you need to know is that for some reason, instead of vampires or werewolves, Tina has a thing for zombies.
She
That's
loves
the
sexy
only.
zombies.
That's the only weird thing you gotta get ready for. Did you guys stay for the post credits?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
There you go. There you go.
Yes. Stay for the post credits.
You may
Okay.
or may not love it.
Go find us online, soManySequels.com. You can find all our past episodes there. Of course, you can subscribe to the show in your favorite podcasting app and the video version on YouTube. All of our socials are linked at soManySequels.com, so go follow us there too, where we're posting stuff sometimes. It's fun. It's fun. All right. We'll see you guys next time.
The
Bye.